Alright guys, so next up in the series is how to time your 2JZ-GTE non-VVTI engine with some big cams. So I've done 3 of these videos now. I've had one from like 5 or 6 years ago that shows you guys how to do this. I did one for the VVTI 2JZ-GTE, and there really is no difference in this, guys. I'm just making this because I know how I could be, and like you just want to see it for yourself. VVTI has the adjustable cam gear on the intake side. These are both fixed. So this isn't going to be too crazy. I'm going to set up the camera just so you guys can see it step by step, but I'm going to go over a few things with you here today. Some of the tools you'll need, very basic stuff. First and foremost though, this is for some big cams. So this really applies across the board when you're putting cams in, is how I look at it, but this is how you want to do it because this is interference now. So these motors from the factory are non-interference. Even with some of the bigger cams, they're still non-interference. But with these Brian Crowder 276s, the engine's now in an interference motor. So we have to be careful on getting this up because we don't want the valves hitting the piston. So the best way to really do this is get the crank and get the #1 piston to top dead center and then back it down. And you're probably asking, what do I mean by that? So let me show you here. First and foremost, what you're gonna need is a 22mm socket and a 1/2 inch ratchet here. And you're gonna make sure you have your crank gear on here. In this case, we have a Powerhouse Racing billet unit. This is the 36-in-2 unit also. But what you're gonna wanna do is get a screwdriver, also a long one. In this case, I put a piece of blue tape on it because this is a coated piston. Don't wanna scratch the top of it. And you're gonna shove it down inside of the spark plug hole here. Now, before we do any of this, you wanna make sure that your cams here, I want these up at their timing marks. So let's come in here really close. And now my previous videos actually marked this, but I don't want to mark these up with a silver Sharpie, but you can see this little dash mark here, okay? The dash mark needs to be lined up with this here. So this actually has a purpose. If you've ever seen the back of your cover, that actually has a purpose. So if you see here, it lines up here to here. And then on this side, you can see it's a little bit back. It could be a little bit closer. I might just skosh it over just a bit, but that's where you want that lined up first and foremost. And you want your engine pretty close to TDC, but back down. And you're probably wondering, what do I mean by that? So let me show you. I'm gonna have to set the camera up here and let me show you what I mean. Okay guys, so first thing you're gonna do, again, you got your screwdriver here, put a little piece of blue tape on it again, put it down your #1 cylinder. Now, first thing I did was lined up my cam gears here, and I made sure that my #1 cylinder was at TDC and then backed it down. Again, guys, so this was at top dead center, and then I backed the cylinder down, okay? By using a screwdriver, you can see once it gets to TDC and then back it down, or what also helps you is down here in the crank gear, which I'll show you in a moment, there's a little dot that shows you in representation where you need to have that at to represent where the cam gears are. So like, you get them both to line up accordingly. Again, I'll show you that here in a moment. But right now, let's back down. So hash mark to this little mark, hash mark to this mark here in the backing plate. Now, using a screwdriver lets me see up and down where it's at. So I'm gonna take my 22mm ratchet here, and I'm gonna put this back up to TDC. And if you watch, you can watch the screwdriver slowly go up, just ever so slightly, nothing crazy. And now I'm back at TDC. Now I might have to finagle it just a little bit because again, these teeth in the rubber belt could be a little, just slightly off, but you'll play with that here, and I'll show that in the video. But again, the reason you're doing this is, if you don't do it, this is an interference motor now with these bigger cams, and you can cause a problem of actually bending the valves. So you wanna make sure that you have your engine, this is how I'll say, you wanna make sure you get your engine up to TDC and then back it down slightly, and then you can spin these around as much as you want. They're not gonna hit anything because nothing across the board is at top dead center. Not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, nothing is, because you've backed it down. So now that I put it back up though, do not go spinning your cams right now, because it will actually hit. These front two here, on both sides, these valves will hit the top of that piston. Do not want that happening. So what we're gonna do next is install the belt, and I am gonna show you this little dot down here on the actual crank gear. Again, guys, if you can see here, you can see the little casting mark dot, and then down here on my billet, it's kind of hard because it's so shiny, but there's a dot there. You're gonna line those two up. So again, I had this backed off, so this is where it was looking like before. Okay, so see, you can see my little dot here is moved. What I'm gonna do is spin it around and get it lined up, boom, right there. Now again, you might have to finagle with that a little bit, but you want that lined up with this dot, and then the 2 hash marks up above lined up. Now you can start putting your belt on. But there is a part number for the belt that I want to share with you guys. I've shared this in other videos. I'm sharing in this one. Again, for someone just wanting to click on this video and getting their engine timed up, this just makes it super, super simple. So yeah, let's go ahead and do that now. All right, guys, so here's the belt you'll need, and here's the part number for it. Again, I've shown this in all the other videos too, but I'm showing it again. So I use the factory belts, even for these big horsepower belts. I just feel like they work well. Yeah, I don't, knock on wood, just don't use an aftermarket unless it's a Gates blue belt, racing belt, but I always use a factory belt. Now what I'm gonna do is take this off, as I don't need that, Gonna open this up and I'm gonna show you how I start this off. My other videos are actually, it's not the best way of doing it, so show you how I'm gonna go about it in this video. Another thing I wanted to mention, guys, before you start this too, now I already had this in, this is what you're pretty much called, I call this your firing pin, but this is your tensioner itself. This is what keeps tension on this guy here. If you have this bolted in, so let's see if I can show it here. If you even have this sitting in here like so, it sits this up and it has too much tension on the belt. You need more room for it. So you have to take that off so this can sit the whole way down inside this hole to get the belt on. So just want to show you guys, I had it on there just because I was just putting stuff on. It's two 12 millimeters that hold this on. So next up, let's put this belt on again. Marked here at the crank, we've got our mark here for the intake side going directly up and down. And the one on the exhaust side, if you look in the book, it tells you to put the dash mark slightly to the right here. So if you're looking at it, it doesn't line up perfectly with this. They actually tell you in the book and it shows you to even say pay attention to how it looks. So you want to make sure this goes to the right some. And when I put the belt on, you'll see why, because it gets the tension perfect. So I'm going to show you guys how to put this on. Okay, so what I do for this, guys, is I always start here at the bottom. So let's do this here. So I start here at the bottom and get everything lined up. Then I move on over, put that like that. Oh, as I get it stuck there, come on, Ryan. I then move on over to the intake side, and it should, once you do it and you slide it on, just like I'm putting it here, make sure it should pop in, and this should be tight here. Like that should have a ton of tension because your loose side is on your exhaust side. So now while it's got tension on it there, move over, and it should slide right on. Now it looks like I need to move this ever so slightly here. Yep. So if you guys can see here, see how I have slack? I want it to come this way. So, well, it looks like actually no, because now, no slack, no slack. So now, this has tension on it. As you can see here, tension, tension, good. That's how it should be, tension, tension, and tension. Now I'm gonna put my tensioner back in, which will start to automatically push up in this belt. Now, we're not gonna remove the firing pin yet. So again, guys, this has tension on here, so we're gonna hold it top. This marks at the top of this notch, this one slightly to the intake side, just ever so slightly. Tight, tight, this is your loose side. See how I can wobble around because this is what actually keeps tension. 2JZs are very simple. I mean, this is all it is. When I look at every other engine, I realize how simple it is. We have one item that really keeps it. This just sits here and spins all around and flaps around. That's why I see on the new bigger horsepower guys, they actually put another tensioner right here just to give a little bit more because there's such a long area here that this could slide off or cause you some problems. But I've never seen it on a street car, and I'm talking 2,000 horsepower plus that guys are running those. So I'm gonna put my tensioner back in and my 212s. So as I put this back in here, this will push up on this, but you'll see that kind of just slides in there like so. Nothing crazy. And then I'll put my bolts in. These are just 12 millimeter bolts, and these are specific though, these are centering bolts. So just a little FYI. So let's see if I can get started here first and foremost. There we go. And you're probably wondering, well, Ryan, why don't you take the alternator off? You don't have to, especially when you have certain tools, like these swivel sockets are nice for this. So once you get it on the swivel socket, I just weasel my way up. And again, because the engine's out, I could do it very easily, but I'm showing this for someone that has their engine in and doesn't want to, say, mess with something like that. But again, you probably would have to. If you're doing all this, you would have all these items off already, but I want to show you. It's not necessary. Look at that. And then just evenly put it up. Pretty cool, right? Now you can see it's already starting to add tension. Make sure it's still good here, here. So the belt is on. And let me tighten this up now. Really like these swivels like this. And it's not an added swivel, so it's its own tool in itself. So no extra piece on it. Try to keep it as simple and short as possible. And put this one up here. As I use my Harbor Freight ratchet, I really do like this. It's only 72 tooth, but it's actually a pretty decent ratchet. And if you're wondering what the torque rating is on this, it is tight. That's what it is. Whoops. And come on. Now there's the one thing, the head sometimes doesn't want to maneuver in the way I want it to. There you go. Now that's got tension on it. Now, I haven't pulled the firing pin yet because I want to check everything else. That's the last thing you do. So keep this in here. I'm not going to pull this out because I want to put tension on the belt anyways, but on, tight, and check your marks again. I'm going to bring you guys in close so you guys can see it for yourself because I want you guys to see this. Okay, so I just wanted to come in here close, guys, show you a couple things, and then we got to spin this engine around 2 times to make sure it's not interfering with anything or not binding up at all. But before we do that, I wanted to show you here at the top. So this is how it should look here. See how that's lining up ever so slightly? It's got plenty of tension on that. That one's back a little bit, and this one's lined up perfectly. This one here, see how that's facing back this way? Just that little bit. And then you come down here. I wanted to show you guys again, that's your firing pin. Once I pull that, that'll put true tension. Right now it's still kind of loose, like I can still move this around. Once I do that, it'll really put tension on that. But I'm leaving the firing pin in for this moment. You also want to make sure you put your belt guide back on. I feel like sometimes I'm like, does this really do anything? But once you get this all buttoned up, you put your other guide on too. This is another thing you need to make sure you put on. This also keeps your belt on, this little piece here. It keeps the belt squished and making sure it doesn't slide off and doesn't rub against your dampener once you put your dampener on. But you need to put your belt guide on. Just make sure to put it there. It's just a little 10 millimeter. And then there's your little hash mark again, the little dot and dot line up. So this is it. It's all timed up and ready to go. Now, one other thing we need to do though is spin the engine around and make sure that it doesn't lose timing. So I do have to pull the firing pin for that. So do this, we'll put the camera up and I'll show you pulling the firing pin and spinning the engine around. Okay, so the firing pin's here, you literally just pull it, that's it. That simple. Now it has tension. Okay guys, and the last thing you're gonna do here now that we checked everything, we're gonna spin it around. We're just gonna get it to go around twice, or really just spin around to make sure it's okay. So just leaving this up here for now. I already went ahead and started spinning it there, but so I already know it should be okay, but down. She good to go. So now we know that. Put that back up, TDC. Take this out. That's it. She's all timed up, ready to go. Very basic video for you guys. Just wanted to make this, and I hope this helped. Okay guys, we're back with the build series. Today we're continuing with the shimming of the buckets, cam install, so on and so forth. If you guys didn't see the previous video, click up here and take a look at that video. It's very in-depth, 43 minutes long. This one's probably gonna be pretty long too. I don't know if it's going to be that long because I had to go over a lot more. This one's gonna be going over removing the cams here, taking off this stuff. You really don't need to have this on here. I just put this on, so I'll be taking this all off. So I don't really need to show that, but I'm gonna show you guys how to remove the cams. And again, it's kind of like the other video where you have to take your time as you don't wanna break these cams. They're cast cam and you just take your time, and I've seen guys be pretty hard on them, but you know, just to be safe, I just don't want to take any chances. But what we're going to be doing today is taking these out to take out the shim buckets we used to do our clearances in the last video and putting in these new shimmed, or I'm sorry, non-shim buckets. These are shimless buckets from Toyota. So I've been asked this a million times too, Ryan, where do I buy shimless buckets and where do you buy them from? Directly from Toyota. I'll show you guys some of the part numbers here today, but they're nothing special. Now, the Super uses a shim bucket, but you can buy shimless buckets directly from Toyota. There's a list of part numbers there you guys can get. Do not, I want to make sure it's clear, do not reference my part numbers here today because every head's different, every cam's going to be different, every setup's going to be different. So you need to do these measurements yourself. Again, follow my previous video and it'll walk you through it step by step of what you need to do to learn and understand how to install and use shimless buckets. Now, today what we're going to be doing is putting these buckets in. First and foremost, I'm going to set up the camera pod here and show you guys how to take the cams out. We're shown how to put them in, but I want to show taking them back out, removing each one of the shim buckets, and then we're going to be putting the shimless buckets in. Now, I've already done the math, and I've also got a nice little list of where everything goes. Got this one here, but I'm actually going to do a printout of my Excel sheet to make it a little bit easier on myself of which one goes where with the part numbers and explain what the thickness is and why we came to what we came to again, and just kind of go over it. And this, again, should be a little bit shorter video. Again, guys, hope you enjoy this. So I'm going to shut up now. I'm going to take this part off here, and I'm going to show guys taking off the cams itself. Let's flip this around real quickly so I can see. All right, guys, so took that front plate and the cam stuff off, or the cam gears, I should say, I apologize. But now we're gonna take the cams out. We're gonna start with the intake side first, and kind of like so before, I'm just gonna break these loose first and then just slowly take it off, and whatever has the most tension, just slowly take it there and then kind of work my way around. Because it's not even across the board, right? No matter what, something has more pressure on it. In this case, it's up front here. This is pressing down right now. It has that spring pressure pushing up against it. It has the most pressure, right? So that's where I need to be careful and realize, like, hey, that's getting the most pressure against it. I don't want to damage the cam. So slowly gonna break everything loose. I might actually get a bigger, let's go up to a size bigger here, just for this scenario, just to break them loose. I like using the smaller one just because it's easier to spin. But to break these loose, I think it makes sense to use a bigger wrench. And again, I don't like using impact for this. I just don't want to take the chance of really causing some serious damage. All right, now that's working loose, I can go back to my smaller one, hopefully. And now I just slowly got to take everything off. So as I remove tension, we'll see how this goes. See, that has tension. There we go. Yeah, don't want to cause any problems here. Come back up here where I know it's got tension again. Take it off that. And again, this is the boring part, so I'm gonna speed this up for y'all. And I don't think I'm gonna show the other side this time around just because it takes too long. I'm gonna record it for my own safety, but I don't think I'm gonna show everything. So let's go ahead and just keep, see I'm making like little half turns. And I just gotta do it this way because I'm scared shitless of something happening. Okay, now that that's out, guys, I gotta play with this a little bit, and that should pop right out like so. I'm gonna take my boom boom stick, and move it over here, so it's out of the way for now. Don't want it to fall off the table. But that side's done. So before I even take these buckets out though, what I'm gonna do is take the exhaust part off next. But again, you guys saw it, I just have to keep moving back and forth, back and forth. Again, it's tedious, it's annoying. Front had more pressure, so the back didn't really have much. So I'm really playing up here in this area, not so much back here in these last 3 cam caps. It's more on these 4 front ones because they have the most pressure. It gets alleviating that as fast as I can so it didn't put too much and bend the cam or cause it to crack. It is cast. So again, I'm done with that. So I'm not gonna show this part, but I'm gonna go skip over that and then I'll show you guys when I start removing the buckets. I'm gonna put them back into that plastic case you saw in my last video. Okay guys, now we got the cams out. I'm gonna take these buckets out one by one, put them back in that pail again. You guys don't really need to see this, but I'm taking them out. What I'm gonna do next then is put the new buckets in, and I'm gonna kind of show you how I'm gonna do it via the sheet I have over here, and then just kind of line them up. Like I said, I did all this math ahead of time. Watch the previous video. This is just kind of showing me installing it, the fun part of all this. I'm gonna put this back in the case and give it back to my buddy Tony. Again, Stan Stagger Media, Tony and Gagliato, thank you, buddy. Because I'm an idiot and sold all my old stuff, not thinking that, hey, I need something to shim this. What I will say is I'm really debating, just because I've been doing this more and more, is just buying shimless buckets and buying all the same bucket, just dead center. So they have a range of these bucket sizes, right? So when you look at these, they have a range of these buckets, right? Adults, different numbers, sizes, whatever. I'm gonna buy all the same bucket, dead center, right? So right in the middle of the road, should work, and it makes it easy. So if I shim everything, go, look, all the buckets are the same. Right now, this setup kind of sucks because I had to keep track of everything. If you do a shimless bucket, you don't have to worry about losing a shim. And if you get all the same size, you know, no matter what, when I take them out, I'm gonna check clearances here and there, but they should all be the same all the time. One thing I am going to do, guys, like you saw in the last video, I checked the size of these. I love Toyota and I love the parts department, but I don't trust them. So I'm gonna check each and every bucket to make sure that they're actually what they say they are. So I have my little Excel sheet, which I'm gonna take the camera off here after I take the buckets out, and check each and every one of these buckets, because as much as you want to trust them, I don't. So I think Tom would appreciate me doing my due diligence too. It also saves me a headache putting them in, checking and shimming it. The other thing I gotta tell you guys, because Tom told me to do it, I am gonna say it right now, Tom, I don't feel like doing this, but because you told me to do it, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna put everything in, tighten it down, check the shim clearance and stuff. Then he says to take it all back out, clean it all up, and then re-grease everything, redo it all, and bolt it back down again, retorque it again. I don't want to do it, but I'm going to do it because Tom told me to, and what Tom says, Tom gets. Again, that's my engine builder. Yeah, I don't want to ever do it. If he tells you to do it, I'm just doing it. It's not worth taking the risk. So let's do a little time lapse and take all these buckets out and throw them back into the box. Okay, now that all the buckets are out, what we're gonna do is come over to this, and I was gonna start taking them all out, but my luck would be I would lose trace. The best way to do this is take them out, I'm gonna measure them. Again, you guys already saw in the last video, I'm gonna make this one a lot shorter, I'm not gonna be redundant, but measure each bucket, but I'm gonna keep them in the bags, and I'm gonna base this off the part numbers. Again, this is my little spreadsheet here, so we're gonna start, actually, since we're on the intake side, we'll start with the bottom. Or no, because I'll lose my place, we're gonna start at the top down. Don't be an idiot, Ryan. Valve number 1, part number. So we're looking for 13751, 46140. And realistically, if you guys can tell, the first 4 digits or 5 digits are all the same. So we're really just looking at the last. And even of those last, you're pretty much looking at the last 3 numbers, okay? So all the 46 there. So you're looking for the last 3 numbers. So we're looking for a 140. So if we come over here, we need to find 140. There's 240, 170, 160. There's 210, 200, 140. Now there's a couple 140s in here. So we got 2 140s. I need to take one of those out. And that's gonna be my first exhaust that goes right here. Now, after measuring them too, guys, what I'm gonna do is oil up the sides. So oil up the side of these and pop each one in. So oil up the sides, pop it in, and that keeps it lubricated, so going in and out makes it a little bit easier. And then we gotta check lash. This will just tell me if I got it right, if I need to change something. I might have to buy other buckets. I'm hoping I don't. I try to get as dead nuts as possible, but we'll see, guys. So set the camera up, I'm gonna start installing these. I gotta check them all first and then install them. So follow along, I hope you guys enjoy. Okay guys, so we're starting with the exhaust side number 1. The first one we're doing here, this is part number 46140. So get it lined up. And I did oil up the sides, pops right in. The next one we have on my sheet here is another 46140. So that makes it nice and easy. Rip that open. And again, rip this open. Now let me mic it real quick, give me a second. Okay, now after being mic'd, guys, we're gonna drop some oil on it. Again, so taking oil here, rubbing it around the edges. Again, this helps it slide up and down real nice. Yeah, just to be safe. And then use that to pop it in. Ooh, come on. There we go. Lubed all up. It is cool to see shimless buckets in here now. Now I know, before we go any further, I want to say this too. I know it's going to be said, Ryan, why don't you DLC coat them or something like that? These are cast cams. The wear item is not the bucket. It is the cam. You guys know how I've had some discussions and the way I kind of feel about GSC cams and how they handled some things. I think GSC as a company makes a good product per se. I just wish they go about business a little bit better. Your cam is your wear item, your bucket is not. Your bucket is supposed to be harder than your cam, and the fact of GSC, the cam is harder than the bucket, so it causes us to wear. In this case, we don't need DLC coating. DLC coating always helps no matter what. I will say that. It helps no matter what. I just don't, in this case, feel like it's necessary. It's proven over and over again, not necessary, no matter if you high horsepower car, regular street car, just not needed. So yeah, I just decided not to. So on that note, let's finish putting the rest in and follow along. All right guys, so got all the buckets in as you can see, and you're probably noticing I'm lubing up everything again. You're like, well Ryan, in the last video you did this already. You're right, I did. But when you move it around, blah, 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 I'm just like, you know what? Putting the cams back in, just add a little bit more lube, make sure it's spread around so it gets to every bit of the surface. And again, I've seen guys just spray it in there and then they let it squish out, but I feel at a time that's not getting everything, and I just don't want to take the chances. I went ahead and did the cam caps over there, so go ahead and squeeze that off. So what I'm gonna do is put the cams back in, get it oriented, put the cast back on, and then start shimming these things and start checking. Let's pray that everything's good, guys. I'm just a little nervous, but let's put these cams back in. So while I'm talking to y'all, make sure I get the right ones in here. This one is, here's my intake cam. Set my intake cam back down in there. There we go, like so. And then my exhaust cam. Boom, like so. So yeah, now let's put the cam caps on, start tightening this up. And again, we'll show it just like we did last time. Start with doing it all by hand. There's just no perfect way of doing this, but yeah, so. So guys, a reminder, this is 20 Newton meters or 14 foot-pounds. So starting at the wrong size, probably help I got the right size. How about it, guys? There we go. So again, make sure. There we go. Okay, now the intake side is done. Now I need to repeat the process for the exhaust. Again, this is all shown in the last video. The only thing different really I'm gonna show is checking clearances, make sure I'm okay, and just to show you guys like, hey, this worked out. So I'm not gonna show the exhaust side here. I'm just gonna tighten this all up and then torque it down, and then I'm gonna show you guys me checking the clearances. All right, guys, so again, I'm not gonna show a whole lot, but everything's torqued down now, so everything's 20 Newton meters or 14 foot-pounds. I've already checked it all. I'm just really, really happy right now. I've only had a few that weren't dead nuts. They were 1 thou off. But like, here's an example. Where are we at right now? This one here, this is supposed to be 8. So there's 8. I think it actually, this is the one that goes to 9. Yep. One of these goes, yeah, this one goes to 9, but won't go to 10. So this one here is dead nuts on. Out of the whole thing, I want to say 3 of them were like 9 thou instead of 8 thou. And I think that's one of the ones where I had to round down, which would make sense, right? But I'm okay with that. That is, you have a 2 thou tolerance. So if the intake side you're allowed is dead nuts is 8 thou, you're allowed to go up to 10 thou and down to 6 thou. So in this case, we're good. I'm about to check the exhaust side next, but as long as that side's good, I'm gonna bolt it all up, put the cover plate back on. Then I'm gonna show you guys what you need to torque the cam gears down to. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm really happy. I'm also gonna, before I put the covers on, I'm gonna put oil all over this. I'm gonna dump oil across this, just to keep it all lubricated up. It's one of those things, better safe than sorry kind of situation. So yeah, I'm stupid excited right now, guys. So yeah, I'm gonna shut up now, go back over to that, check it, and then I'm gonna show you guys putting the cam gears on them. So yeah, you already saw the tolerance is good. Follow the first video I did. That'll tell you guys exactly what to do. I'm gonna shut up, check those, and then realistically, I'm just gonna show you how to put the cam gears on. So now that this is all checked, I'm super happy. I had 2 buckets on this side that were 1 thou looser. So instead of it being 10 thou, it was 11 thou, which is fine. I'm okay with that. And it was barely like I had to like force it in, and that's checking it 3 times. But what we do need to do, and this is the way I do it, is I took these cam caps off. We're gonna put these seals in. 2 things you need to do here. 1, you're gonna apply grease to the outside edge. So let's go ahead and take, first and foremost, there's the part number. You're gonna need 2 of these, 1 for each side. Let's go ahead and take this out of the bag real quick. If I can get my sticky little fingers in there, just don't mess up the seal either. Okay, so there's your seal. So you're gonna apply no grease outside. You wanna keep this dry because you wanna keep it sealed. You apply a little bit of grease or oil, whatever you prefer, then put it in. You're also going to, on the edge of this, you're gonna put Toyota FIPG around the edge. If you look in the book, it'll tell you to do so. So I'll show you that here too. But what you do is, put a little bit of oil, which I haven't done yet, and then slide this over and sit it in there. It'll seat down in there, so it'll actually bottom itself out, so don't worry. But it's that simple, guys. Super, super easy. So I'll shut up now and put this on, and I'll show you guys me applying it. Okay, guys, once you've got these greased up, what I do is slide it on first and foremost, slide it in, get it in there. Again, let it bottom out completely. First one, and then our second one here. Take your time. Get in there, let it bottom out. So make sure you run your fingers around it. It'll fully bottom out. Boom. Now, this is our exhaust. So you guys can see this here. See the little FIPG, nothing crazy, because again, flat surface, flat surface. So just a little amount is all you need. And then you apply this to the front. Just get to sit like so. Okay, there's that one. And then let's apply this one now. As I get it all over my finger. Hate that about FIPG. It does get everywhere. So there you go. And again, torque this back down. This is how I do it, at least 14 foot-pounds or 20 Newton meters. So again, these are all oiled up already. So these go here and here, here and here, and here and here and here and here. Now, before I even tighten these down, I'm gonna check that seal again, make sure it's 100% on there. So I'm tightening these, getting these finger tight more first and foremost. So put them on. There we go. Do that, and then just check the seal the whole way around. So like right now, that's not pushed in. So I wanna make sure, see? Make sure that's pushed in the whole way. Because if not, you'll have a leak, and that's the last thing you want to happen. Okay, and again, I'm just squishing these down some, making sure, flat surface. Flat surface. Actually, this one's not as flat as what I like. So, push that in. Again, make sure that's in and it bottoms out. Okay. Put mold, put it back on, and 14, 14, 14, and 14. So now your seals are in. We've got our FIPG around our seals there. Again, it's not very much, guys. It's very, very, very tiny amount, but again, nothing crazy. But that's going to keep you, hopefully, from having any oil leaks or spills. Now we can put our backing plate on. And in this case, I'm using some dress-up bolts for this too. So let's go ahead and grab it here. Back this off here, here, and here. Realistically, this shouldn't be on there too. This should already be off, but I do have it there. So what I'm gonna do is kind of finagle it around. So I will say that's the quote-unquote not the best way to do it. I'm gonna set one of these bolts, but these are dress-up bolts. These are titanium bolts. Now I am gonna use some blue thread locker here in a second, but I'm gonna put this one on for now, just to get it started and sitting. If I can get it threaded, apparently I can't, because I can't get my fat fingers in there. Probably easier if I just get a socket or something. There we go. Just to hold it there so it doesn't fall off. But I'm gonna get blue thread locker for these other two and tighten that up. Just because I might run a clear cover. We'll see. That's why I got this powder coated. Run these black bolts in case you do see that I want the gold. So here's the factory. Here's the factory gold bolts, or not gold really. They are anodized, or what is it called? Zinc coated. My apologies, zinc coated there. So yeah, nothing crazy. Just a backing plate, anyways. So I wanted to put these in, blue thread locker, and then let's put the cam gears on, and I'll tell you what you need to torque it down to. So black bolts are in now, guys. These are titanium bolts from Dress Up Bolts. Nothing special. There's 10 millimeter bolts, or M6 by 1.0 short bolts. I can list them down below for y'all. I did miss one here. I need to order one extra. This bolt here is actually for your plastic cover, so don't put anything in that. But now let's put the cam gears on and tighten it down. There is a hex on this that you need to use an adjustable wrench, or I think it's like 28 millimeters, something weird. But I just use an adjustable on it, and I got to look up the torque spec. But let's go ahead and put the cam gears on first. So there's a little indicator on the cams too, guys, if you're ever wondering how this works. It can only go on one way. There you go. And again, I'm using the ARP bolts on this. Okay guys, so my neighbor across the street's doing some work right now, but see the adjustable wrench there? There is a nut actually built onto the, or an area, like a nut style, for an adjustable wrench. I forget what the exact size is, but we also have my torque wrench there. It's set to 59 foot-pounds per the book. I am using the ARPs on this, but the 59 foot-pounds is still correct. So I gotta hold this and torque it down. So thank God this makes noise so I don't have to look at it. But all right, so torque down to 59 foot-pounds. Oh, I wanted to say another thing because I talked about it. No Loctite or anything. In previous videos I didn't. I just wasn't sure with these and cams and stuff. I know GSC had leaking issues. These don't. So no Loctite of any sort. Just put the bolt in and torque it down. So we did that one. Now we're going to move over to the other side and switch over my adjustable here real quick. It is definitely not as easy as it looks. Oh boy, and I just hit the buttons on that. Don't want to do that. Put that back up to 59 foot-pounds. This is a big boy too. All right, because you don't want it to rest against the head either. Ooh. So now, she's tightened down. So we got our backing plate on and our cam gears on now. Again, 59 foot-pounds for both. Now just remember, when we did all this work too, guys, that the head, that it's not a TDC right now. And you want to leave it off TDC because we're going to line this up and I'm going to show you guys what to do. Maybe not in this video, depending how much time I get here today. I don't want to forget either because it's important, because remember, the head's not TDC to get the cams and everything set up because you don't want the valves to hit as we're spinning things around. But we're going to line it all up and get it ready to then put the belt on. I did a belt video of the VVTI setup, and it's exactly the same for this. A little bit different because it's a little bit easier because there's no adjustable gear. So I think I'm going to make a video dedicated on how to put the belt on and how to line everything up. So we might just go from there. Okay, so now that we're done tightening everything up, we're going to go ahead and put the valve covers on. Make it all pretty, of course, right? I drizzled oil across this thing too to keep, you know, their cast cams, you know, they had a little bit of grease, but I wanted to drizzle oil across them, so that's why they look nice and shiny now. Time to put the valve covers on. So I've got these Autosport Engineering valve covers, and they use standard gaskets from Toyota. So each one uses a specific gasket. Both sides have their own. So let's do this here, blah, 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 flip it over. So for this one here, this is the, which side is this? This is the non-oil cap side, which would be the exhaust side. And the part number for that one is, so the exhaust side one, flip this over. The exhaust side one is this. That is the part number from Toyota. So you guys write that down. And I'm just going to pop this in. But I want to tell you guys this, after I pop both of them in, you need to also put FIPG, or seal packing as they call it, right here in this area too. So take my finger out there, right here in this area, they require seal packings put in here. If I go to the book, and again, I open up the book, I'm doing all this stuff just for you guys, so you guys can see it. But if you see here, seal packing required here, here, and here. Install cylinder head, move the old packing, FIPG material, apply seal packing to the cylinder head as shown in illustration. Again, this is after you put the cam gears, all this stuff on, you get to this, you put the valve covers on, you can show all that now, and that's where you finish up. So I just want you guys to know that you can use any type of seal packing. I just use Toyota FIPG because it's the best, and I haven't had leaks from it. So gonna pop both these in, then put FIPG in that area and tighten it all up with some dress-up bolts. So let's get that done. Oh, I should say, for the intake side, here's the part number for that seal. So you can see one's 10 and one's 20. So only the last thing that really changed is the last two numbers. Instead of 10, it's 20 there. So just wanted you guys to see that. Got to take that one out, but do this one first and pop it on. So guys, going ahead and put seal packing the whole way around. You guys can see there. It's not the prettiest, but it works. So now we're gonna put these on. I did take the studs out of this this head. So I have studs in my wife's head, so there's locating studs. I took those out. So I'm gonna have to take a little bit of finessing to get this on. I'm just gonna use bolts. Those studs are a pain in the ass, honestly, for half the stuff I wanna do, so I'm taking them out. Just gonna use bolts the whole way across the board. Titanium bolts from Dress Up Bolts. Click right here. You guys check it out. I really like these bolts just because they look awesome. You guys can see them here. I love the way the fasteners look. They're titanium bolts, so they can do most of what you do. Some of the high grade stuff you can't. That's why I'm using some 10.9s there, but for the most part, you can use these bolts anywhere. So I'm gonna shut up now and put the valve covers on and get this buttoned up. I went ahead and put the intake manifold back on here too, guys, but I wanted to show you this. I went a little, said, you don't have to go that far up. So just look at it here where the cam is gonna come down, or the coil cover is going to come over the cam. Just put the FIPG up there so you can see a little bit past. It's not going to hurt anything, but just will look neater and prettier. So those are on now. Again, that's to help you keep it from leaking. Some people say you don't need it. I just don't like leaks. I don't want to take any chances for a brand new build and leaking and stuff. So just might as well do it. I love these valve covers too. I love the fittings on the back, not the very back. They're up off the side, not on the top though. So my issue with my OCD works was they're right out the back, and as soon as you would accelerate, it goes right into it. Now it's still up, and not only is it from the side, but you can see here they put it as close to the top as possible. You see, actually had to machine it so it actually has a bump out there. Same thing with over here to keep them as high as possible, to keep it from it being just blow by. Now it's still in the back. Being up here would help some, but I haven't seen the adverse effects. I've had them on my wife's now, and from stock to that, I haven't seen the extra blow by or anything. So it makes me really, really happy. So want to continue with that, but I'll shut up now, guys. That's it for today's video. Thank you all very much. Hope you're enjoying it, and I'll talk to you later. Peace.